How's it going, Louis?
Good, good. How are you doing, Les?
I'm doing good. How about you, JJ?
Sorry, I had to find the unmute button. I am
I
doing
just said,
good.
how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good. Good. I had to step away from the last meeting for a minute. Guy showed up at my door with my ice machine for my knee. So real critical and post-knee surgery. That thing is like sweet, man. Because the one thing they want you to avoid is swelling. They just don't want it to swell up. So 5 or 6 times a day for an hour and takes away a lot of the pain, but it keeps the joint limber where you can move it. So
Use it. You know,
Oh, yeah.
I had my my left knee replaced 3 years ago. And you know, you got to go to physical therapy ASAP.
yeah.
But trust me, that new knee, you'll be dancing like crazy. But now my right knee's giving me problems. So
Well, I was looking at the 2 x-rays of both of my knees in my surgeon's office yesterday, and we're looking at the left one, and I said, well, maybe I can get a couple more years out of the left one because there's not a whole lot of cartilage between the 2 bones, but the right knee, there is nothing there but bone on bone. So
same here. See what you have to look forward to, Luis?
Yeah. Well,
I'm
I've had
looking
knee
at that
surgery
young
before.
face.
You know.
well, you have to be lucky enough to live long enough to wear out your body parts, you know.
Exactly.
And fortunately, with the insurance we've got as LACERA members, and if you get a physical every year and you do the things that you should be doing, you know, you increase the probability that you're not going to drop over dead. But then again, you know, you don't know about that one either. So
Exactly. No, I call it the maintenance. Just keep the maintenance schedule going, right?
I'll tell you the number of deputy sheriffs I talked to that haven't had a physical in 20 years. Oh, when I got hired, that's the last physical you had? Oh yeah, why don't you get a physical? Well, they might tell me there's something wrong. Honest to God, that's the answer. The doctor might tell me there's something wrong.
That's called denial.
JD can attest to this. I mean, these guys they're knuckleheads, man.
Okay, I have to admit, my son asked me, when did you last check your sugar? I go, I haven't because I know it's high. I don't want to see a high reading. I'll check it when it goes down.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Well, I had my pre-op physical Monday morning and the nurse goes, you're not very stressed about this test, are you? And about the surgery. And I said, not really. She goes, your blood pressure is 130/70. And I'm going,
Wow.
yeah, that
That's
ain't bad for a guy that's going to be 73 years old in 5 days. So, you know, hey.
Pretty nice.
That's right. Our birthdays are close, relatively close, 3 years apart. I mean, three months. I'm February 4th, but I won't be 73. I'll be 70. So
Yeah, well, you're just a baby.
Oh, hold it. Hey, okay, guy. Well, you guys are a bunch of kids. Let me ask you.
yes, we are.
Let me ask you a question. Les, did they tell you how to do it? You're supposed to fill up to the line ice, and then you put water in until it goes to the line. Is that correct?
No, you fill up the line with water and then you dump ice on top of that is what he told me. But you know what? I don't think it makes a whole lot of difference. I'm going to fill the damn thing up and not worry about it. So.
No, I've just, because I haven't used it in about 4 years. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure I don't screw it up.
I did it the opposite. More ice, the better. The colder it'll be.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I did is I put ice to a line and then you fill the whole thing up with water and then you put that deal down there where it circulates. Anyway.
Colder
Okay.
better.
Sorry about that, folks. We'll get started here.
Sean, I gotta leave at 12:30 as I have a COVID test to take for the surgery.
I do not think that we will go past that.
Okay.
Okay, so I'd like to call to order the Operations Oversight Committee and the Board of Retirement. Today is Wednesday, December 1st, 2021, and the time is 11:56 a.m. let's go ahead and have staff do the introduction.
Thank you. This meeting is being conducted virtually, so I will do a roll call of the trustees to confirm attendance.
Oh, boy.
Mr.
ahead.
Knox,
I am here.
Mr. Santos.
Here.
Ms. Gray,
Here,
Mr. Bernstein,
I'm here.
Mr. Oakham,
I'm here.
Mr. Moore, Mr. Robbins,
Here.
I'm here.
Ms. Sapanta, Mr. Pryor,
Here.
Mr. Harris,
Here.
Chair Kehoe.
I'm present.
Staff participating in the meeting includes CEO Santos Kryman, Deputy CEO Louis Lugo, AEOs JJ Popowich and Laura Guglielmo, Chief Counsel Stephen Rice, Bernie Boinaflor, Ted Granger, Cassandra Smith from the management team, Michael Wong and Irvin Wu from Accounting Services. Trustees, please use the Zoom chat option to be placed in queue. At this time, we ask all meeting participants to mute your mics until you are ready to speak, and we may now proceed with the agenda.
Thank you so much. Okay, first item is going to be the approval of the minutes of the November 3rd, 2021 meeting. I'll need a motion.
So moved.
Moved. I'll need a second.
I'll second. Okay. You got it. You got it.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Let's go ahead and please do a roll call.
Mr. Santos,
Yes.
Mr. Oakham,
Yes.
Mr. Robbins,
And I,
Chair Kehoe.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Perfect. Next item is our public comment. I've received no requests. I'll ask staff if we receive.
I
any.
have no requests.
Perfect. That brings us to our report. So just so everybody knows, we'll go ahead and do our standard operations briefing. Then we'll have a presentation on our financial review. We'll go over a quick quality assurance update. And then the privacy incidents, I don't anticipate a briefing on that specifically unless we have questions because we have our written material. So that's how we'll go ahead and proceed. First item is our operations briefing. I will turn this over to Deputy Chief Lugo.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Kehoe and committee members. Good morning, everyone. Just a few items of note within our operations briefing that I wanted to report to the board. First and foremost, our case management system continues to be a priority at LACERA. The team's doing a great job in terms of progressing through our project management milestones on our case management system. Currently, we have our vendor proposals that have been submitted. We have 13 vendors that have responded to our RFP, our project management office, as well as systems. And some of our cross-functional teams have done a great job in getting us to this point. And now we're in the evaluation phase. So we're looking forward to evaluating the proposals and being able to kind of decide on the top 2, top 3 in the coming weeks. Also, as discussed in our CEO report, as it relates to our vacancies, we have our core benefits training, or I should say core benefits training class starting in January. We were anticipating to start those classes in December, but due to some onboarding constraints, we're going to be starting one class in January, the other class in February, and it's going to be about 24 to 30 team members joining LACERA, and we're excited about that. As you saw with Mr. Kryman's report, we are seeing an increase in our claims filings, both on retirement and disability. So we're looking forward to onboard these additional new staff members and welcome them to LACERA. And then lastly, Ted will talk about this and his team a little bit later in one of the reports, but really sending our thanks to Ted and his team on the financial statement audit and the clean opinion they received from our external auditor, Plant Moran. They've done a great job of coordinating our financial statements and are working through that process. So we appreciate their efforts. With that, I'll pass it over to you, Chair Kehoe.
Perfect. I have a question from Mr. Knox.
Yes.
Yeah, just real quickly, I saw the chart for ethnicity as requested by Trustee Moore. And I'm just curious if I'm missing something. There's 3 boxes for each ethnicity classification. What is the orange one? I think blue is active and gray is retired. What is orange?
Let me.
On page 15. of the 87.
So I'm just getting to that page. And JJ, I don't know if you have access to that.
I believe that's, I'm sorry, I believe that's inactive, and I apologize. I had a what do you call it? A legend. That's what you call it. Goodness. A legend earlier, and I'm sorry that it didn't show up, but I believe that's the inactive. So there's active, retired, and inactive.
And inactive quickly is what again?
Deferred, that
Okay.
includes deferred and people not eligible for benefits.
Got it. Thank you.
Retired, I believe, includes survivors and so forth.
Perfect.
I'll clear that up for the future versions. I apologize.
Thank you, JJ.
Great. Any additional questions? I think I have Mr. Harris.
Yeah, and I apologize, but I'm looking at this chart and in the chart, I don't think this is a LACERA problem. It almost looks like a software problem. It shows those lines. If you line up that 39,349 line with the line to the left, it makes it look like you're right at 3,000 when in fact you're right at 4,000 or 40,000. So I'm just kind of wondering, are my eyes going bad, or did anybody else notice that? It just seems kind of odd. The numbers all jive, but it's in the wrong place on this graph.
I agree with you, Mr. Harris. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that's not a LACERA problem. That's
an Excel problem, but I will fix it and make the graph clearer next time.
Okay.
Maybe a line chart would be better.
Yeah, I think so. We'll change the chart.
That's what you get for trying to be fancy there with the.
There you go.
Wanted to jazz it up a little bit.
Perfect. Any additional questions regarding our operations briefings? Okay, I am seeing none. So we're going to move on to our 2021 financial review by Mr. Granger.
Yes, good afternoon. I hope everybody can hear me okay. My name is Ted Granger. I'm with the Financial and Accounting Services Division here at LACERA. With me presenting today is Michael Hong. He's our accounting officer over investment accounting, and also Irvin Wu. He's our accounting officer over our general accounting functions. So we're going to go through a quick, what we call the annual financial review. It's going to give you an overview of our financial statements for the fiscal year ended 2021. If somebody could pull up the slides, that might be helpful. Thanks, Irvin. Irvin's driving the slides today. So if we could go to the next slide on the agenda. I'll talk about this in a quick second, but I did want to provide sort of a quick process overview. Government Code Section 31598 requires that LACERA prepare annual financial statements. Our statements are prepared in accordance with GAAP or generally accepted accounting principles. Then we report our statements in accordance with the GASB requirements. Section 31593 requires an annual audit, an independent audit of those financial statements. So there's really two parts to the process. Today is a presentation on the first part of the process. This is an overview of the management financial statements, and that's this process. Tomorrow at the audit committee meeting, Richard and his team, internal audit, will work with Plant Moran, our independent external auditor, to provide the results of the financial audit, basically an audit of the statements. So again, today's the overview of the financial statements. Tomorrow would be the audit report. And as Mr. Lugo appropriately mentioned, we did get an unmodified or a clean opinion. So I'm kind of giving you a quick preview for tomorrow's report. So anyway, back to the agenda. Again, we'll cover the annual financial statements, the process to prepare the PAFR, that's the pamphlet that's mailed out to all the members. We'll talk really quickly about the awards. There's two, the next bullet's actually out of order. I'll talk quickly about the pandemic updates. Michael will go through the financial highlights. Irvin will cover the new GASBs, and then we'll take any questions. So with that, let's move on to the next slide, please. Teamwork, that's one of LACERA's values. What we did here was we created an acronym This is a slide we typically provide. I'm not going to go through every single square, but it just kind of summarizes the process we use to prepare the financial statements. And it's not just Ted, it's not just accounting. This is an entire team that we collaborate with to prepare these statements. And I will talk about that more a little bit later. Next slide, please. This slide is new this year. We wanted to talk very briefly about the evolution of the financial statements, and we approached it sort of in two categories: contents and operations. The contents of the financial statements have increased. We are now, of course, reporting the OPEB trust. We have a separate footnote for that. And we also have OPEB trust information in the financial, in the financial section, but also in the investment section as well. We have more clear and comprehensive reporting on the OPEB custodial fund. That's really the retiree healthcare funds that we custody here at LACERA on behalf of the county to pay all of the retiree healthcare expenses. As you know, we've implemented a number of GASBs, 67 for the pension liability, 72 for fair value, 74 for the OPEB liability, and 84 covered the OPEB custodial fund. The financial statements has grown. In 2011, we were around 100 pages. In 2021, we're going to be above 200 pages. And finally, ACFR, or ACFR is our acronym. In accordance with GFOA standards, we have changed the former acronym to this new one. We basically reordered the words. It's Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, also called the financial statements for short. Very quickly, in terms of operations, we used to prepare the report based on a team of 3, and we have expanded that to 15 to get everybody exposure and also to provide a little bit more diversity in thought, diversity in reviews, and I just feel like additional minds looking at the statements and preparing the statements help provide a better product. We have a unit in our division now reporting to compliance. They manage this project. This project takes us about 6 to 7 months during the year to complete. We have a software tool that we use. We have a little bit more formal cycle now, rather than just Ted deciding when we need to start and when we need to finish. We do have a formal cycle of dates and a timing for the project. And finally, our partners. And this is probably the most important part of this slide and probably the most important part of this project. We cannot do this alone here in accounting. Like I said, internal audit helps us coordinate with the external auditors, Plant Moran. That's a very important part of this project. As I mentioned earlier, investments, they are invaluable. We are tied at the hip with them. They work with us on all of the investment disclosures, the investment section of the financial statements. It's just a huge, it's probably nearly 50% of our book. And so that's a very critical and beneficial partnership. Legal office keeps everything in line for us in terms of the language. Executive performs all of their reviews. We don't give them a whole lot of time to go through the 200 pages, but we do appreciate the reviews and the comments and the feedback and the clarifications to the language. And finally, communications. They're working on the project whereby we take these raw financial statements and we make it into this very attractive glossy book with pictures and graphs and graphics, etc. So with that, the next slide, I'll give you a quick preview of the communications team's work. This is our theme for this year, Woven Together, Connecting Service, Stewardship, and Diverse Strengths for a Financially Secure Future. So that's a quick preview of the graphical or the artwork, I guess, for the book this year. And that'll be, by the way, the PAFR will be mailed out later this month to all members. That's the pamphlet version of this. And then the financial statements will be done a little bit, about a week or so after that, later this month, I believe. And we cannot not talk about our awards. The GFOA awards, we're very proud, 31 years for the financial statements and 23 years for the PAFR. And also, as far as the Public Pension Coordinating Council, 19 years running, and that's where they are looking at the standards that are applied at LACERA, which meet all industry benchmarks. So that's for funding and administration. So we're very proud of that. And next slide, please. And finally, most of this information is fairly common knowledge at LACERA. This is just a quick update from our perspective. Obviously, we've implemented the safety protocols in terms of the pandemic. There are some folks traveling on an exception basis, which is approved by the executive office. As you know, we have our investment team closely monitoring our investment portfolio, and that really goes without saying, I think, whether it's pandemic or non-pandemic. 2 items of note: we have received all plan sponsor contributions during these times, business as usual there. And of course, here at LACERA, with our benefits team, our member services team, our systems team, our accounting team, we've provided benefits without interruption. Couple of quick things in terms of operations. Obviously, we rely and depend and follow our leadership, which has been just outstanding during this time, and the communication has been great. And the accounting team, a couple quick notes here. We've been doing this now 2 years running in a remote work environment, thanks to our software and to my team and to the other teams that I mentioned earlier in terms of preparing the financial statements. And finally, we added a comment, because we're accountants, that we have in fact made all of the member and vendor payments as scheduled. So with that, unless anybody has any questions for me on the overview, I will hand it over to Michael for the financial highlights, the numbers part. So maybe the next slide, Irvin, and then let's maybe move it to the next slide, please.
Okay, thank you, Irvin. Thank you, Ted. My name is Michael Huang. I'm here to present the financial highlights for fiscal year 2021. Listed here are the key points that I will go over in the subsequent slides. Please note that I will skip some slides as I went over them in details at the last 2 OOC meetings. So Irvin, please go to slide 11, please. As you can see here, last year, 2021 was a fantastic year for our pension plan. The fund balance was at 73 billion. Over the last 10 years, our fund increased from 38 billion to 73 billion, resulting in a 91% increase. Irvin, please go to slide 13, please. For fiscal year ended 2021, total addition was 18 billion. Total deduction was 3.9 billion. Irvin, please go to slide 16. Investment returns. Our pension plan generated 25.2%, is above the policy benchmark return. Please go to slide number 18, funded ratio, please. Okay. Funded ratio was at 76.3% as of the 2020 valuation. Please go to slide 20, membership. As you can see here on this chart, our membership continued to grow year over year. As of fiscal year 2021, total membership was almost 186,000. Please go to slide number 23, Irvin, please. Thank you. OPEB Trust. The OPEB Trust fund balance was 2.3 billion. Los Angeles County owns the biggest pro rata share of the fund at 97%. Since 2013, when we established OPEC Trust, Los Angeles County have contributed 1.5 billion to the OPEC Trust. With that, it concludes my presentation. I will turn it over to Irvin to cover the remaining slide. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Irvin Wu. I'll be walking you through some of the upcoming GASB pronouncements that LACERA may implement on the horizon. So first we have GASB 87, leases, and this changes the accounting and financial reporting on how to account for leases by initially booking the asset and liability and subsequently accounting for them over the life of the lease. So instead of recording only a lease expense, GASB 87 requires recognizing a lease asset and a corresponding liability on the balance sheet, as well as depreciation and interest expense on the income statement. So far, we have created an inventory of LACERA's lease contracts, and we will be analyzing materiality to determine if GASB 87 will be implemented by the end of the current fiscal year, which is ending June 30, 2022. A little further down the horizon, we have GASB 96, subscription-based information technology arrangements, and this focuses on technological software with a subscription liability. GASB 96 is similar to GASB 87, where the assets and liabilities are recognized on the balance sheet, in addition to expenses being recognized on the income statement for the term of the subscription. GASB 96 will be effective for the next fiscal year ending June 30, 2023, and we will start by collecting and analyzing LACERA's inventory of IT software subscription contracts. So this concludes our presentation of the annual financial review, and we stand for questions.
Any questions?
I have one quick question regarding the funded status. We went down from last year to this year, but with a 25.2% net of fees return on our total fund, I would expect next year that funded status is going to go up appreciably. Would I be correct?
That's correct, Trustee Robbins. I was told the funded status will be around 80%, close to 80%. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ted.
It seems like when CalPERS has a good return, they jack up their funded status like crazy. And it seems to me like when we have a return that's even better than theirs, we don't, but I trust our staff and our numbers a whole lot better than I trust somebody else's. So thank you for the answer. Thanks, Ted. Thanks all of you.
Sure. Mr. Robbins, let me just add just a slight bit more color to that. And we have the 2021 actual evaluation report on next week's Board of Investment agenda. And basically, to answer your question, what happens is the actuary smooths in the investment returns or the investment income. That's a 5-year sort of smoothing process, if you will. So we only get a layer or a piece of that. We can only recognize a piece of that with regards to the funded status. So because the investment returns are smoothed in, you don't get that huge gain that we're talking about potentially. I'm not sure CalPERS smoothing method, but it's quite possible they have a shorter period. They might have a 1-year or a 3-year smoothing method. And that's why you might see the gains on their funded ratio.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Ted. I know that over the years, CalPERS has used a 1-year, a 3-year, I'm sure a 5-year, and I didn't know what smoothing period we were using now, so you answered that question. So, you know, I don't want it to be something that it's not. So I figured we'd go up around 80%, and I'm pretty comfortable with that, so.
Yeah, exactly. And it also helps dampen the volatility of the employer contribution rates. So that's another reason why we use a 5-year method. So.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any additional questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. I really appreciate the presentation and the detail. We will move along to item C, which is our quality assurance report from Bernie. And I know we have a written report here, so we'll go ahead and turn it over to you for a short coverage.
Thank you, Chair Kehoe, and good afternoon, trustees of the committee. I'm joined today by Mary Arenas, who's one of our quality auditor twos, who's stepped up to help coordinate the audit work in QA until we have all our positions filled. We have two main stories to tell today. This is our annual audit report, which you may have noticed has not been issued since maybe about 2018. Today, we're issuing it after having gone through quite a big transition. And let me give you some highlights. First of all, our organization, we have 19 budgeted positions. We currently have 5 vacancies. So we've had turnover in 9 out of 19 positions very recently. We now have 3 senior positions vacant and 2 auditor 2 positions vacant. And that's a challenge that we've been working around. And hopefully next year we'll be able to fill those. Continue, please, Mary. But to cut to the chase, the results of our audits over the last fiscal year have been pretty consistent and positive. Despite all of the challenges that the member operations group has faced over the last couple of fiscal years, they've been able to maintain around a 98% accuracy level across all of the audited processes. And that is actually the target that LACERA has set for accuracy. It's sort of the sweet spot between accuracy and efficiency. Secondly, our core benefits training class, the last one that was graduated this last year, achieved a 96% accuracy rate across all of their audited transactions. And by the way, all of their transactions in production were audited during the training period. So this 96% actually bodes very well for the trainees as far as their prognosis for future success in the member operations group. Mary, could you please continue? Okay. Some of the setbacks that QA has experienced, if I can turn to QA now, we've had database failures. That is, we used to have Microsoft Access databases, which we've known for a while would eventually come to end of life, and they eventually did, starting about 2018, 2019. And so we've had to resort to more basic tools like Excel and emails to manage our work. Also, as I mentioned before, we've had staffing shortages, which only recently has started to turn around, but we hope we can accelerate that in the future. And once again, COVID-19 forced our division to take on 99% remote working. So we've had to adjust accordingly, but I'm very happy to say that the professionalism of the team has also stepped up and they've continued to be very efficient and productive. And next, Mary. Okay. Despite the challenges, we have done a few things that I think are very positive for both LACERA and QA. We've reorganized quality assurance for the purpose of making sure that our assets, our resources are allocated to their functions more efficiently. We've also built a new audit platform, and this is primarily the achievement of Maggie Luong of the Process Management Group in partnership with our systems division. And this new platform, which was built in SharePoint, is actually very effective in helping us to catch up on all the work that we have to do. Along with this, we've designed a new framework for structuring our audit work, and that also has been very effective. Another achievement is that we've now started auditing up to actually over 80% of the cases that we audit on a pre-completion basis as opposed to post-completion. Pre-completion is good because it allows us to intervene if there are issues with a particular transaction, to intervene before that transaction actually reaches the member. So the member never gets a negative impact. And so we're going to continue to try to increase that percentage even beyond. The reporting, we have made some adjustments. In addition to the the weighted scores that we give to transactions, which emphasize certain audit criteria as more critical than others. We also present the unweighted accuracy percentage, which weights all the criteria about equally. Ironically, the impact of that second way of presenting the numbers isn't that significant. They're still within the same, within about a point apart in percentages. And but nonetheless, this is improving our transparency, and we intend to make more headway in the future, especially since the MOGAP allows us to access the data and summarize it much more effectively. Yes, Mary? Next, yes. Okay, so what do we want to do in the future? We want to increase our independence and objectivity. This is very essential so that our assessments of accuracy are reliable. So we plan to undertake some reorganization, further reorganization, making sure that our functions are independent and objective. We want to, of course, fully staff the team so that we can take on more work. Some of that work that we plan to take on include additional processes where we know there are other risks, but historically we haven't been able to audit those. We wanted to start doing that, including monitoring calls, which is part of the whole member experience theme that we talked about in the board offsite. In addition to the member surveys, once again, the member experience is important to us. Once again, we're going to increase the proportion of audits that are done on a pre-completion basis. That's something that we're going to be more aggressive in the future. And we want to always improve the tools and techniques that we use to clear exceptions, because the whole axiom of garbage in, garbage out. We want to make sure that the data that we work with is always accurate and that we catch any exceptions as efficiently as possible. And finally, one of our long-term strategic visions is to instill the auditor mindset, or a very analytical mindset, in the minds of all of our member operations group staff, so that they are prepared for the workforce of the future. The kind of work that we plan to undertake in the future, whatever course the board decides to take, we want to be prepared to meet those challenges. Okay, next, Mary.
That's the last one.
That's okay. Very
Yes.
good. So that's all we have today. We can answer any questions that the board may have.
Thank you. When do we think that the staffing issues will be fully addressed here?
We don't have a firm date at this time. We don't have any outstanding exams initiated yet, but we are in the queue. I would like us to be able to fill them sometime within the next fiscal year.
Do we think that those are going to be promotional within in-house promotions predominantly, or are they going to be external?
It'll be predominantly in-house, because the foundation for audit work is to know the business rules.
Yeah, that would make perfect sense. Okay, well, hopefully we can get that rolling, because this is a very important part of what we do. Or any questions from Steph? It looks like I have JJ. Did you have a comment on this?
Yeah, I did just want to talk a moment about the filling the vacancies on this one.
Oh, thank you.
We did run an exam, and we did make some offers, and not all the offers were accepted. Were internal candidates, so that's part of the reason why they're not filled. So we will be revisiting that and rerunning the exam, but there is a waiting period that we have to do because of existing lists and things like that. So it's not like this one hasn't been focused on. It was focused on.
I don't want to get into it in a board meeting, and mainly this is more of a staff issue, but I would definitely encourage staff to analyze that and determine why internal candidates would ultimately choose to turn down an offer. So if that is a financial issue, if that is a managerial issue, definitely do some internal looking and see what the best solution is, because that should be resolved internally. So I'll pass that torch back to you and staff. Any additional questions or comments? I see none. I did not meet my 12:30 deadline here for Mr. Oakham, so I apologize for that. But thank you very much for the presentation, and we're going to move on to item D and E. Does anyone from the board or committee wish to discuss those items? We had a fully detailed report. I think staff did an excellent job on both. Any questions or thoughts or concerns?
This is Keith. I'll yield to somebody on the committee first, but I had a quick point.
Okay, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, just quickly, Mr. Kryman, Mr. Lugo. I know at TTC, we turned off autofill for email addresses when my predecessor was here, and it caused a bit of an uproar. But people got used to it, and it does avoid those erroneous, email addresses that are typed in. And when I took charge, I got a push from my staff to turn it back on again. And I said, no, just leave it off. It's not worth the occasional thing that we could send to the wrong person. So for consideration by you.
Thank you for the suggestion.
Any additional questions or concerns about either privacy incident? I am seeing none. So now items for staff review. I don't believe we gave anything to staff on this. So
I don't have anything.
Perfect. Thank you. Go to the order. I will ask if there's any comments or thoughts. I see none. And that brings us to adjournment. I'll need a motion.
Yeah, I'll move it.
Thank you, Ron. Okay, perfect. Everybody have a great rest of your afternoon.
Have a great one, everyone. Thank you.
Good luck with the surgeries.